What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Real Talk Ravens podcast, and we're going to be just recapping this Houston Texans divisional round. Just what started out as a very stressful game and ended up being just very, very comfortable win. Moving on to the AFC Championship game after 34-10 after we were tied 10-10 at halftime. So.
Not only that, but for the very first time in Ravens history, the AFC Championship game will be played in Baltimore.
Yes. AFC Championship, first time ever in Baltimore versus the Kansas City Chiefs, who wound up beating the Bills 27-24. Basically, kind of just a back and forth game. It was a really good game to watch. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but we're going to kind of just stick to that Texans and Ravens game for this episode. Mm-hmm. So just, right off the bat, I'll just say the most impressive thing about that win to me was the fact that we were able to make adjustments at halftime, learn from what wasn't working in the first half. Houston Texans tried to throw us some curveballs by coming out and blitzing us like crazy, and that's something that they have not done all season. That's not something that their defense is set up to do. And once we realized that, we, gathered up at halftime. We figured out, this is what we need to do. We need to attack them with the short, quick game passes and let our guys, run after the catch, get the ball out quickly so we don't have to worry about getting sacked before we even can get the throw off.
Not only that, but we also unlocked Justice Hill in the second half.
Yeah, we were able to get the run game going. Let's take a look at these stats real quick just so we can, highlight everybody here. So Lamar Jackson, 16 for 22, 152 yards passing and 2 touchdowns throwing, as well as 11 carries for 100 yards rushing and 2 rushing touchdowns.
Electric. Insane. I mean...
It's really just crazy how good he is.
Completely goes against the narrative people want to push about him in the playoffs.
He did get sacked 3 times, but like we said, that was just a product of us coming out there and the Texans doing something that they're not used to doing. So they kind of caught us off guard with that. And we were holding on to the ball too long because all the routes were still developing by the time Lamar was ready to throw it. But then Justice Hill, he had 13 carries for 66 yards, averaging 5.1 yards per carry. Gus Edwards, 10 for 40. And then late in the game, we got Dalvin Cook some love, 8 carries for 23 yards. I mean, he had a big one, but a couple of those, he had a 19-yarder. A couple of those, he got tackled in the backfield before he even had a chance because they were just selling out for the run at that point in the game. So I wouldn't even really look at the average too closely on that. Receiving-wise, Zay Flowers was your leading receiver, 4 catches for 41 yards. Again, we had to transition to that short pass game. We didn't really have to stretch the ball down the field too much. We just took it down the field nice and methodically. Rashad Bateman, 3 catches for 39 yards on all 3 of his targets. Isaiah Likely, 2 catches for 34 yards, and yet again another touchdown. He has 6 touchdowns in his last 7 games, the most of any tight end in the NFL during that stretch. We're potentially getting Mark Andrews back this week. So
are you sending Isaiah Likely motivational texts before the games? Like, hey, dude, Tyler from college, you got this.
Dude, no, I mean, looks like him and Lamar just got it down together. Him and Lamar are just like brothers out there. It's kind of funny. It's like Lamar always had that connection with Mark Andrews, and since he's been gone, Likely has just stepped right into that role without any hiccups. And it's like, we were all just curious to see how that was going to go. And now we have 2 of the best tight ends in the NFL.
Not only do we have 2 of the best tight ends in the NFL, but they have an amazing connection with our quarterback. It's not like they're talented, but we're missing them or misusing them or whatever. It's just the connection is there. And we might have them both next week. We really might. I know it's kind of up in the air right now. We'll see. But, it's exciting.
The other receiving touchdown was Nelson Aguilar, who ended up with 2 catches for 12 yards. He had the 1 touchdown on the goal line where he was pretty much wide open. Lamar just hit him perfectly right in the numbers. Then Odell, he only had 1 catch for 12 yards on the 1 lone target that he had, but it was a big catch.
It was.
He had two defenders around him. Lamar had to fit the ball in there, and he made a really good catch on that one.
What it seems like to me in the passing game is that we weren't trying to be flashy. We weren't trying to overdo it. But when we needed a play, the players were there to make that play. You know what I mean?
Yep, for sure. Defensively, looking at the stats, Roquan Smith had the lead in tackles with 7 total, 5 solo, and 2 tackles for losses. Then you follow that up with Patrick Queen and Malik Harrison, with both having 5 total tackles. Ronald Darby played really well. He had 3 tackles, but he had 2 pass breakups. Justin Matabike had 3 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and 2 quarterback hits. Jadeveon Clowney, I thought, had a really good game. But stat line just had 2 tackles, but he was really disrupting up their run game. We did not give them much on the ground. Also, Travis Jones. Travis Jones is kind of overtaking Michael Pierce in the middle, it seems like lately. The last 2 games, it seems. It just seems like he's just so athletic, and teams are just struggling, even double teaming him, and he's just splitting them. And
you just love to see it because that's like our young guy, you know?
Yeah. It just shows you Eric DaCosta and his draft.
What amazes me about this game that we just played is that even though we were held to 0 sacks, which is kind of our bread and butter, and I think no turnovers too, right? There were no turnovers, no sacks.
We should have had the one. I think Marcus Williams dropped an interception early on.
Yeah, no, I know. But even with no turnovers and no sacks, our defense was so stifling.
And actually, Kyle Hamilton had one too, remember?
Yeah.
He had one that got tipped up in the air and he lost it.
And he was like, where is it? No, but the fact that our defense was that suffocating. I mean, even their touchdown was a special teams gaffe.
Dude, which they had a total of 38 yards rushing.
And, yeah. Well, we knew that was a weakness coming into the game. I didn't know it would be that bad.
But lately, they've actually kind of established their ground game a little bit versus teams. And then it was like, nah, we're not going to let you do that versus us. Especially, lately our rush defense has kind of been kind of suspect. So it's really nice to see that we didn't let that go down.
That's big because, the Chiefs, they kind of are going to have to rush on us. They're going to have to use Isaiah Pacheco next week. Because
Chiefs are a little different, but
they don't have Tyreek Hill to just lob the ball up to and make a miracle catch every 3rd down anymore. So I like the way we played. I like the way things were clicking. It makes me feel very confident about this game coming up.
Sure.
And, I actually there was debate within the group chat on who we wanted to play. And Tyler got the team he wanted to play. I would have rather played the Bills just because of the injuries. Because also, the Chiefs are like the Patriots every freaking year where you think they're down and out. They win their last 7 games, make the playoffs, win their division. All of a sudden, they're in the AFC Championship game, and then they've won the Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
Hey, but I'll tell you what. The Ravens, if you look at the Ravens' record back then versus the Patriots in the playoffs, we were on top most of the time.
Yeah, we were. And so hopefully this is the first time Kansas City and Baltimore will meet in the playoffs since Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson have been on those teams. So this is – I know they talk about Josh Allen and Mahomes have played 2 or 3 times now in the playoffs, and Joe Burrow and Mahomes, and that's the rivalry. Well, this is the rivalry we haven't gotten to see yet. This is huge. And if you remember correctly, we lost our first 3 matchups between Lamar and Mahomes, but we won the last one. Let's make it 2. Let's make it 2 in the biggest, best way,
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's just get straight into it offensively. We just talked about a little bit of the stats and the numbers. Lamar in the first half definitely struggled because I think the game plan was to stretch the field and kind of, throw the ball deep. And Houston wasn't having that. They were blitzing, and then they were playing man coverage but playing very, very loose.
Yeah.
And saying, we're not going to give up the deep ball. You're going to have to pick us apart 5 yards, 10 yards at a time. But we didn't figure that out till this halftime pretty much, where we made those adjustments. Monken just showing how great he is. Just putting this into perspective, Todd Monken, the last 2 seasons, won national championships with Georgia.
Yeah.
If he won this year, the Super Bowl, I don't want to think ahead, but I'm just saying that would be an insane,
Right.
insane stat.
That would be crazy. And the thing with Todd Monken is that I think that what sets him apart from Greg Roman, because Greg Roman was a really good OC for a while, on multiple teams, but Greg Roman's hubris won't let him accept that what he's doing isn't working. And Todd Monken can humble himself and realize, oh, hey, it's not working. Let's make these adjustments, and voila, we're winning games.
Well, there's just so many different elements of Monken's offense to where something isn't working, he can quickly adjust, and we have something for what the defense is giving us. Whereas I felt like with Roman, it was kind of like, this is what we do, and we're going to do it really, really well. But if somebody stops us, then we're screwed.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the tweet that Des Bryant put out about Greg Roman interviewing for the Bears OC. I feel bad. I really do, because I think Greg Roman deserves another shot. I think he can grow. I think he can learn from his mistakes. But
he's a great initial, like for Justin Fields and that type of offense, he would be great to get his career kind of off on the right foot. Mm-hmm. And then once, just like we had to do, we had to transition.
Well, I think he just needs to be like a run game coordinator. Like that's his best fit.
Let him be the offense coordinator, but bring in somebody that can build past concepts that aren't so elementary.
Yeah.
And just say, all right, Greg, you stick to the run game. Here's the pass concept I like on this play. Boom, call it.
Right. And I feel like he can do that. I just I don't know if he will.
Exactly, because in the NFL, those coaches a lot of times have such huge egos. They don't want to let people tell them what to do.
I mean, you saw Josh McDaniels' ego in real time, didn't you? So
yeah. But looking back, it just seemed like Lamar was in so much control of what he wanted to do, especially in that second half. Even early on in the game, it was like Lamar was putting the ball right where he wanted to. It was like he was locked in the zone until that second quarter where things started to slow down and we weren't really able to pick up those blitzes and we were trying to throw it too deep. But besides that, 3 quarters of the game, Lamar looked really well, really, really good.
I did get a little worried there at the end of the first half because it was drive after drive of just sack, incomplete.
We had a couple 3-and-outs.
Yeah. We got really lucky because first they missed a field goal. We got the ball back. I thought we were okay. We got 3 timeouts. We might go up by 3. And then again, it was just sack, and incomplete, and it was over,
Yeah, I think what happened on that first drive of the game, we drove the ball pretty much right into field goal range, got it to a first down. Lamar took a 2-yard loss when he got shoestring tackled trying to escape the pocket.
Yeah.
And that kind of put us behind the chains real quickly. And then second down becomes incomplete pass, and then it's 3rd and 12. 3rd and 12, and we hit Bateman short of the sticks, and then we're forced to kick a field goal. So it's kind of like one play kind of stood in the way of us there. But then the very next drive, we went 3-and-out.
Man, this just doesn't feel real, This doesn't feel real. And I'm sure it'll feel even less real if we win on Sunday. Because this is crazy. I mean, not only let's take a look at the league for a second. Not only are we playing at home for a chance to go to the Super Bowl, there's a good chance that if we go, the Lions are the team we play. The Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Like what? This is
the thing that I think we got to come back to also, the only touchdown that we let up in this game was on a punt return.
Yeah.
This year, besides the Tylan Wallace Rams punt return for a touchdown, our special teams has been abysmal.
Mm-hmm.
It has been by far our weakness.
Yeah, it has.
And I don't know if you win a Super Bowl or anything, even with where we are right now, finishing an AFC Championship game, does that give you the grounds to, think, does Harbaugh have enough, balls to just say, Chris Horton, you're not cutting it, and move on and find someone else?
Probably not, but maybe he can instill some of his kind of concepts and ideas throughout the week. I mean, he was a special teams coordinator before.
He should have already been doing that, though.
And maybe he has been, and Chris Horton hasn't been listening. And he has to say, look, dude, if you want your job, you're going to have to listen to me. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe he's trying to take a step back and just be more of a head coach.
I will say, on that touchdown, it was probably the worst punt of Jordan Stout's career, probably since he was in elementary school.
He definitely wanted that one back.
Me or you could have punted it just as well, or if not better.
Yeah, he shanked that one. It wasn't
rough. Even like the fact that he shanked it. It was a line drive in the middle of the field. You should know as a punter, first off, whenever a punt is called, you're usually punting it to the left or to the right. You never really want to give the punt returner a two-way go.
Right.
So what happened was he punted it to the middle of the field, but he also had no hang time to let his guys get down there.
Right. I think one thing that Jordan Stout usually does pretty well is he's good at finding the corner right outside the end zone and kind of like getting the ball like at anywhere between the 15 and the 3, just like on the left or the right side. And I don't know if he just got shaken up. Like I didn't rewatch the play, so I don't think like pressure or something like that.
I think he was nervous. I think, you got to think this was his first playoff game. At Penn State, he didn't play in any really big games. Right?
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm really hoping going forward that he got all that out of his system and he's ready to, just boot it like he's been doing during the regular season.
Man, another thing that I loved seeing about this game is how much of a vocal leader Lamar Jackson was in this game, yelling at Ronnie Stanley, like, hey, no, don't help me up, block for me. And then at halftime in the locker room, like, this man wants this more than anything else in his life. And he is going to drag this team with him if he has to. You know what I mean?
He's not going to let anybody slack off. He's not going to let, someone having a missed assignment go unnoticed. He's going to make sure they know about it. And he's going to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Right. And like after that, Ronnie Stanley got a game ball because he adjusted and he played. I mean, honestly,
let's not forget, Ronnie Stanley has probably played his best football all season lately.
Yeah, because I think he knows there's pressure on him. I think he knows what the fan base is saying. And I think he knows what Lamar expects of him. And so I know he's dealing with injuries, but he's dealing with them with the right attitude, and he's got the right attitude about it. Because it can be very easy for a player to go to a dark place and to be like, I'm supposed to be the guy, and I'm not. But he's had a great attitude about it. He's done his rehab. He's worked hard. He's tried to adjust how he blocks and how he kind of does certain things. And he'll have a couple bad plays here and there, but he, for the most part, has done a really good job at being consistent.
Yeah. So they said, I think after the bye week, that he realized he couldn't just rely on the same old technique that he's been doing his whole career with his newly constructed leg, knee and ankle or whatever's going on there.
Yeah.
Because he just didn't have the strength that he once had. So he had to kind of adjust how he did things fundamentally. And you can tell he's kind of figured out that I don't want to get too much into it, but this week's going to be a huge test for him, I think, with Chris Jones being, arguably the best defensive lineman in the NFL, or one of.
Chris Jones is going to be a very, very tough matchup. This defense is going to be a very tough matchup.
Yeah, for sure. But
this ain't no Houston Texans defense.
Yeah, I mean, so just looking, though, at it, after that punt return, the biggest drive of the game was the very opening drive of the second half. We kind of just said, to all those people that were stressed out, all of us fans, all the people, all the critics that were all like,
the Texans are going to win. Waiting to text about how terrible the Ravens are in the playoffs.
Lamar just threw up his freaking middle finger and said, F you, we're going and scoring. And he took it right down the field, ran a 15-yard touchdown in, boom. It was beautiful. So that kind of, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, we're okay. We'll be okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
The way our defense is playing, our defense did not let up one touchdown. They let up 3 points in a missed field goal.
I
So
think what the real key to all of this is every time we win, John Harbaugh needs to dance in the locker room. If he dances, then we'll win. We'll win.
yeah,
So
yeah. Also, apparently the magic Harbaugh number is 34 points because Jim, they won the national championship with 34. We won the Super Bowl versus the 49ers with 34.
34. Yeah. And then we scored 34 this week.
Exactly.
I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I'm really, really, really just trying to live in the moment.
Yeah.
But how great is it going to be if and when we go out there and our defense absolutely puts the Chiefs offense back in its place, because they've kind of been like doing some things a lot better recently. I know the Bills game, there's injuries and all that, so it's a little easier to score on the Bills, but they've been more consistent. They've relied less on the receivers that have been dropping the ball, been relying more on Kelsey, who's been better. They've been relying more on the run game and Mahomes' magic.
They haven't played a team like us
ever
this year. Recently.
The last time they played a team with a defense that I can compare to ours is maybe the Broncos, the way they were playing midseason, and maybe the Jets. And they lost to the Broncos, and they should have lost to the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the last good defense they played was the Packers, and they lost to the Packers.
Yeah, the Packers aren't even really that great of it. I mean, compared to us, compared to the Ravens. That
they lost to the Raiders, who were playing good defense toward the end of the year.
Yeah. I'm interested to see if this game goes the way I hope and I think it will go. How many times they're going to cut to a scowling Taylor Swift or a scowling Jason Kelsey. And I wonder how many times we're going to see Patrick Mahomes get hit and they go the refs.
I just really hope, I can see, like, it to me felt like there were a few times that we hit Stroud, kind of on that threshold where they could have thrown a flag and people would have been like, yeah, that was a penalty this past week after he threw the ball. So I hope that, you want to remain physical, but you got to play smart, and you got to know versus Patrick Mahomes, it's not going to be the same as versus CJ Stroud. They're going to protect their superstar in the NFL.
Well, I mean, they already did by giving them Sean Smith as the ref for the game. Throws the most flags out of any ref in the NFL against the home team. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. But, it's okay. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, so getting back to our game again, then we got, after that first drive in the second half touchdown, we make a stop defensively, cause a punt, and then we get the ball back on our own 7-yard line and take it 93 yards in 7-minute drive. That pretty much deflated the Texans.
That was the nail in the coffin.
Yes. It took basically the end of the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter, and then that's when we hit Isaiah Likely on that beautiful play design. We ran that same play versus the Detroit Lions earlier in the year where Lamar rolls out right like he's going to run a quarterback sweep, gets everyone to step up and play the run, and then throws it right over the top. We did get lucky earlier, I think, on the previous drive that we scored on, because Lamar tried to zing one in there to Isaiah in the red zone, and it almost got intercepted. It was very close.
That was close, and I mean, it kind of gave me a mini heart attack right there, but Lamar's been doing a lot less of that lately.
And I think it was a good play by the DB. But I think you got to know when you're throwing to your tight end. Isaiah Likely told him after the play, you could see he was like, put it up in the air. I can jump up. I can out-jump these guys. And then that's what he did on the touchdown pass.
He lost them. That was like a Michael Jordan dunk. That was.
All I'm saying is when I'm throwing to my tight ends in the end zone, throw that thing up. These DBs can't jump like our tight ends can.
No, they cannot.
Yeah, and then after that, it was just pretty much even our next. Yeah. We scored on 3 straight drives in the second half. The first 3 drives, we got the ball, we scored on, and it was
even that last field goal drive. I feel like if we really needed it, we would have scored like a touchdown. it kind of felt like we kind of just were like at the end.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
oh,
we were just running the clock out. We
right.
had an 8-play drive that went a total of 8 yards, and
Yeah.
it took up 3 minutes out of the off the clock.
Yeah.
So, but I think Dalvin Cook going forward, he's got a chance to be a difference maker.
He does. He really does. And it's interesting. It's really interesting to me that the Vikings didn't keep him. I understand why it didn't work out on the Jets. You know, when your O line is made out of paper and toothpicks, it's very hard to run the ball. And I know Brees Hall did, but you know, um, so I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Dalvin Cook can do, especially if he has a chance late in the game or just on a big play on a big drive.
I think that we're going to have some plays specifically for him. So it'll be cool to see how Monken kind of fits him into the game plan. I don't think he's going to be a feature back. I think Justice Hill and Gus are your feature backs, and then Dalvin is your guy that you can kind of get creative with.
I think Gus might have been the worst on offense this week, and he was still pretty dang good.
Another thing to keep in mind, we didn't have any major injuries, but Gus Edwards did come out late in the game with an injury to his hand, it looked like. I don't know if it was just maybe a helmet to his hand and he banged it up pretty good, but something just to watch, keep an eye out for on the injury report coming out this week. But that was another great sign. We didn't have any major injuries.
Right.
So that was huge. The one thing I'll say, just go ahead. We can go into defense. I don't think there's really much to say other than Roquan Smith kind of just channeled his energy throughout the whole defense. And everyone was just, and everyone was just playing with that absolute intensity. And it was one of the most dominant defensive performances of the season.
Can you imagine what this team would look like without Roquan Smith?
No, and I don't want to.
Right. Let's pray that doesn't happen, because he fit on like a glove. And you can just every week he's got some sound bite or something that he said or thought or done that's just like, oh my God, dude, like this man just wants it just as badly as Lamar, and he's gonna get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And all of our players on defense are just doing their job. Everybody is doing their responsibility. They're filling up their run lanes. They're giving you 110% every single time they're on the field. You don't see anybody just jogging to the ball. Everyone is swarming to the ball to make that tackle. And it's, that's how great defenses play.
Yeah. It's
in the playoffs. That's how it's going to be. That's how it's got to be. Otherwise, you're going to get beat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, other guys, like I said, that stepped up, I thought, were Travis Jones, Ronald Darby, Kyle Hamilton, as always.
Yeah.
And, I would definitely say Patrick Queen had a pretty good game, too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is Patrick Queen had a pretty good game.
And then Jadeveon Clowney, he was a menace out there.
We didn't miss Marlon Humphrey. We really didn't miss Marlon Humphrey.
To be honest, when Marlon's been in the game, people have taken shots at him and have succeeded.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think it's because Marlon's, at the end of his career or whatnot, I don't think it's him taking this huge decline. It's just the fact that he's been hurt. When you're hurt and you're not taking, those live reps, that's going to happen. You're not going to be used to that speed. You're not going to be used to, that every single down. So
I think best bet is he gets some playing time next week if he can, and then really just focuses on the Super Bowl.
But I would like to see potentially maybe you stick him in like he did earlier in his career as the nickel corner.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Arthur Millette. And he's physical enough to where he can come and make a tackle. And then on top of that, he's not going to be forced as much to be caught in these one-on-one situations with the top receivers.
Yeah, no. He will pop you if he gets a chance. He'll strip the ball, and he knows where he needs to be. And I agree with that. I think that would be a really good idea. And I also know Marlon Humphrey is humble enough to accept that if that's what he needed to do, he could do it.
Yeah,
He's not one of those guys with a big ego who'd be like, "Oh no, that's not for me."
yeah.
So
If he's healthy, but
if
we'll
he's
see.
healthy.
We'll see. Even if he did that in the Super Bowl, if we got to that point, but
Yeah, still got this.
it's hard not to look ahead when you're so close. But
we can't. I mean, look at what happened in 2011. We should have won that game and we didn't. So. And
another thing I'll
the Bills
say
should have won
is
last week and they didn't. So
Justin Tucker stepped up this week.
yeah, 50. What was it? A 51 yarder?
He had a 53-yarder to start the game off, and then at the end he had the whatever. I know that was probably kind of 43-yarder, but still the weather conditions. It was 20-mile-an-hour winds. I know it's our home stadium, but
our home stadium is notorious for having the swirling winds on the right end of the field. So
he's always said that it's been the toughest place for him to play at. So
yeah, that's good. If the toughest place is at home, and you're that good, then
Yep, for sure. So yeah, I think we just gotta keep at it. I loved what I saw today. Like I said with you in the group chat, Kyle Van Noy went on Pat McAfee's show and he said, the difference with our team is we are just laser focused right now. We are locked in. Like we celebrated for a quick little dance in the locker room, and then right after that, it was
back to work.
Let's get back to work. Let's get better where we needed to, and let's put a great game plan together and execute that game plan.
And this, I'll leave everyone with this. This proof right here better show you guys this is a different team than in 2019. This is a completely different team. We may lose, but I don't think we will. Not the next week, We very well could lose. Anyone can lose. Again, I'll say the Bills really should have won the game last week. The Chiefs have a funny way of beating teams they shouldn't beat. But I don't know. I feel like the energy in this Ravens locker room is something I've never seen from the Baltimore Ravens.
Absolutely. I think that's all I got.
Yeah, that's all I got too.
So we'll definitely have our preview episode probably Thursday. Yep, for the Kansas City game, and we're going to do a deep dive into what we think is going to be the keys of this game. So make sure that you hit a like, subscribe, and share so that when we post our next video, you're able to come on here and see it right away, and tell all your friends and family about us.
Yeah, this is one of the biggest weeks in Baltimore Ravens history, and we don't want you to miss out. So, on any version of content. So I'll even say, go watch Engraven, go watch the Ravens Vault, but don't forget about us too, Yep. All right.
We'll try to provide something a little bit different than everybody else.
Absolutely. We're at the end of the day, we're two guys who love the Ravens. So.
Yes, sir. So we'll see y'all. You guys have a great week, and just try to stay safe and healthy.
If we win, we should get Palmer on for the Super Bowl previews.
Yeah, well, we have a whole extra week in between.
I'm interested to see what would happen if let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yep.
Sorry. All right. Have a good one, guys.
See ya.